The esteemed Tom Paine wrote an informative piece on terror and its legal problems in a free society before Christmas on the IDDE blog, and if you haven't yet seen it, I suggest you do. It's a very good piece. I put in my 3 pennyworth on the British Syrian deployment round about the same time. I was not against military action against ISIS on the ground in Syria or Iraq, just not in the haphazard way it was done, and the fundamental dangerous breach of the military principles of war. Developments have moved on, as they were bound to do, and as usual, events at home have been met by politicians with the usual helpless hand-wringing. The time for vacillating, inept politicians is past. They created this mess with their suicidal immigration policy, and it's now a military problem. As is so often the case, soldiers have to pick up the pieces when politicians fail, and this means a coordinated plan, with a concept of operations and an aim, a single, understandable, no-nonsense aim. Not the motherhood and apple pie, tear-stained response, which appears to be the only current option. Let me first quote from a leader with impeccable credentials, Winston Churchill. This from his History of the River Wars. Fascinatingly, the quote is now over 100 years old. I quote, "The fact that in Mohammedan law every woman must belong to some man as his absolute property, as wife, child or concubine, must delay the abolition of slavery until the power of Islam has ceased to be a great power among men." Unquote. This tenet of Islam is unequivocal, as it is unacceptable. There is simply no room for this concept in a modern democracy. Now, I'm not an interventionist. I do not believe it's the role of the West to bring either Christianity or secular democracy to every backward corner of the globe. However, this medieval creed must be stamped out ruthlessly if the free world is to remain free. No-go areas, ghettos of Sharia law, makeshift camps and mass antisocial behaviour must be eliminated, and immediately. The terrible problems in Germany, Sweden, France, Spain and England make it obvious there is no possibility of compromise. These Islam extremists are sociopaths, and they have to be liquidated. This is a job for the army. Modern police forces are not trained or equipped for this task. Neither do they seek it. This is an armed struggle and must be left to those who bear arms professionally. Not a pistol on the hip, but an integrated personal weapons system. Significant force must be applied at the enemy's weakest spot. In Cologne at the New Year, there should have been an overwhelming German army presence. Every thug should have been arrested and incarcerated until deported. Military transport should be on permanent standby to fly wrongdoers straight back to whatever Islamic domain is appropriate. No ifs or buts, no appeal, straight back. If they were born in the country where they misbehave, straight back to the land of their parents' birth. Islamic prison gangs must be broken up. Solitary confinement for violent offenders. Repatriation immediately on release. Those with families may be joined by them and flown out together. Ferries must be commandeered. Illegal immigrants returned by sea to camps as close to their homeland as possible. Calais is a starting point. There should not be the slightest trace of these camps in 6 months. Those whom adhere to an alien cultural creed must adapt or depart. Sharia law is not an option in a democracy. For those of us who don't have the stomach for serious action, I outline the alternative. The aggressive, hostile culture will eventually devour those who don't subscribe to it. Look at the extermination of Christians and Ahmadi Muslims on the Indian subcontinent. The positively bestial acts against minorities in the Middle East. There is even a danger of the Sunni-Shia conflict spilling over to the West, a conflict already well over 1,000 years old. It is a primeval response for men to protect their womenfolk. One attack too many will see a response which will know no quarter. The reaction of the masses will make no distinction between the good or the bad. Sikhs, Hindus, Ahmadi Muslims will look the same to an enraged mob. Mosques, shops, businesses of moderate integrated Muslims will suffer in revenge attacks. It is vital that this is avoided for the good of us all. The longer no serious action is taken, the more bloody the result must be. Genuine Christian refugees must be helped. The Syrian crisis was deliberately caused by America with a complicit British Foreign Office for a perceived geopolitical advantage. This colossal error of judgment comes at a price. Similarly, Muslim countries must also accept their responsibilities, both in the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. It is time for the theocracies to advance into the 21st century or take the consequence from a world which is rapidly running out of patience.